A man in a white uniform walked through the hall, addressing a crowd. He requested everyone's attention and began his speech, announcing that in a few days, Princess Wei Wei would arrive at Outpost 11361 to assume her role as station chief. He explained that, according to imperial law, all 14,000 individuals at the station would become citizens under the command of Princess Wei Wei. He stressed the significance of the occasion, noting that being linked directly to the royal family was a rare opportunity, even within the Galactic Federation. Suddenly, a hand rose from the crowd, interrupting the officer's speech. Annoyed, the officer turned toward the crowd and demanded to know who interrupted him. A young man in a blue uniform, hand still raised, introduced himself as Wang Xiaofeng, a senior mechanical engineer in the weapons engineering department. The officer approached Wang Xiaofeng, staring him down. With disdain, he asked how a dwarf ended up at the outpost. Wang Xiaofeng, standing at attention, calmly replied that he was 180 centimeters tall, and that, by Earth standards, this was not considered short. Incredulous, the officer asked, "What does an Earthling like you have to report?" Wang Xiaofeng, slightly hesitant, reported that the outpost's ammunition reserves were critically low, and that measures should be taken to ensure Princess Wei Wei's safety during her arrival. Before he could finish, the officer cut him off, yelling, "Silence! Who do you think you are? You just arrived and already want to act like you belong in the front row?" The officer continued berating Wang Xiaofeng, questioning why a mechanical engineer from weapons engineering would concern himself with supply department matters. The young man, struggling to respond, was again silenced. The officer glared at him and declared that Wang Xiaofeng would be transferred to the basic maintenance team as of the following day. He added that he didn't want to see him again. Speechless, Wang Xiaofeng watched as the officer turned his back and ended the meeting. As he walked away with a woman in a pink and white uniform, the officer muttered that the HR department had lost control. As they headed down the hallway, the woman reported, "We've received news from the front lines. Another outpost, 12 light-years away, was attacked by the Jinglong race." She asked if they should prepare accordingly. The officer stroked his chin, deep in thought. "The Jinglong? Aren't they the ones who wander the galaxy, hunting advanced life forms?" After a pause, he reassured her. "No need to worry. There are 8 outposts within 12 light-years. It's not our concern just yet. Our priority is ensuring Princess Wei Wei's appointment ceremony goes smoothly." The woman nodded in understanding. The officer then instructed her to keep the information about the attack confidential to avoid causing the princess unnecessary stress. Meanwhile, Wang Xiaofeng, now wearing his basic maintenance uniform, walked down a hallway. Suddenly, he collided with a young man in a blue uniform. The man apologized for not seeing him, making a remark about Wang Xiaofeng's height. A group of non-human uniformed individuals approached, joining in the mockery. One of them scoffed, "Is that the Earthling who supposedly made a fool of himself in front of the station chief?" Another added, "It's disgusting to be on the same team as this dwarf. Why doesn't he just go back to Earth?" Ignoring the taunts, Wang Xiaofeng continued toward his dormitory. When he finally opened the door, relief washed over him, but it was short-lived as he took in the sight of his messy room. Disheartened, he recalled the day he asked his parents if he could return to Earth, saying he missed them. In his memory, his father, holding a knife, harshly scolded him. "Stop playing the victim. If you can't handle these tasks, don't bother acknowledging us." Meanwhile, his mother tried to calm his father, but the memory of his father's anger was overwhelming. Wang Xiaofeng then remembered the list his father had given him. A notepad filled with seemingly impossible goals. Get married, have 10 children, make 100 friends, and buy a house of at least 1,000 square meters. At the bottom of the list, a chilling warning was written. "If you fail to achieve these, I will consider you as if I have no son." Wang Xiaofeng stared at the list, feeling defeated. He muttered to himself, "Looks like there's no going back to Earth now." A crowd gathered in the outpost's parking area, their excitement palpable. Shouts of, "Wow, the princess is arriving!" echoed as the spaceship landed. The crowd erupted into cheers, calling out, "Your Highness, the princess!" A beautiful maiden with silver hair, dressed in a regal purple outfit, gracefully descended from the ship. This was Princess Wei Wei, the much-talked-about royal of the Galactic Empire. The crowd cheered her name, pledging their support for her leadership. Princess Wei Wei, now standing on solid ground, acknowledged the crowd with a smile as she walked the red carpet. flanked by a tall, imposing man with blonde hair and gleaming armor. He was introduced as Li Ke, the Imperial Royal Knight. Standing before the crowd, Princess Wei Wei proudly introduced herself as the 133rd Princess of the Galactic Empire. Among the crowd, two individuals exchanged comments. One marveled at the fact that she was the new station chief, while the other declared their continued loyalty to her. Satisfied, Princess Wei Wei addressed them, proclaiming that from this day forward she had her own territory and subjects. Though she considered herself an illegitimate princess, she acknowledged that her new position granted her rare real power. The outpost, though remote, was rich in mineral resources, promising great profit. With a hint of arrogance, she commanded the commoners to work hard to secure her throne. Li Ke, sensing her overconfidence, leaned in and warned, "This place is not like the imperial capital, princess. Be cautious with your words and actions." Irritated, Princess Wei Wei snapped, "I know that already. You don't need to keep reminding me." However, her regal air was quickly shattered when she tripped over something on the ground and fell. Li Ke immediately knelt beside her, concerned. "Are you all right, Your Highness?" he asked gently. Embarrassed, the princess looked around anxiously. "Did anyone see that?" she groaned, wincing in pain. As she struggled to her feet, leaning on her knees, she angrily demanded, "Who's the idiot that left trash in the hallway?" Li Ke glanced around and, spotting someone, replied, "If I'm not mistaken, it must be him." He gestured toward Wang Xiaofeng, who was quietly putting tools away in a locker, unaware of the scene. Still irked, Princess Wei Wei complained, "I thought this outpost was supposed to be filled with elites. Is he also one of them?" Li Ke observed Wang Xiaofeng for a moment before saying, "Judging by his stature, he must be a primitive earthling." Princess Wei Wei approached Wang Xiaofeng, calling out, "Shorty, what's your name?" Startled, Wang Xiaofeng turned to her, holding a tool in his hand. "Do you need something?" he asked, unsure of what was happening. The princess looked him over, momentarily captivated by his appearance. Pointing to a backpack on the floor, she demanded, "Is this yours?" Wang Xiaofeng nodded. "Yes, it is." "You made me trip over it!" she accused, her tone sharp. "How do you plan to compensate me?" Panicked, Wang Xiaofeng apologized profusely, insisting that it wasn't intentional. With a mischievous glint in her eye, Princess Wei Wei touched his cheek with her index finger. "Of course," she said, "I might forgive you, if you show some sincerity." Confused, Wang Xiaofeng asked, "What do you mean by sincerity?" Realizing her intent, he quickly added, "Please wait a moment." The princess crossed her arms, smiling smugly. "Using my position to ask for favors never fails," she thought. Moments later, Wang Xiaofeng stood and handed her a small card. "Here, princess. Please accept this." Princess Wei Wei took the card and examined it. "What's this?" she asked, puzzled. Wang Xiaofeng, closing his eyes in a humble gesture, explained, "It's a voucher for the second cafeteria. You can exchange it for a luxurious seafood buffet. I've been saving it for a long time, but never had the courage to use it." Princess Wei Wei stared at him, incredulous. "Are you joking? Anyone stationed here should at least come from a noble family and have a few hundred star coins. I demand 200,000 star coins to make us even." Wang Xiaofeng, flustered, muttered, "Money? I've just finished paying off my student loans. I only have 200 star coins left." The princess was shocked. How could someone be so poor? She thought, astonished. Despite her own status, she couldn't help but find the situation somewhat amusing. From a distance, two onlookers admired the princess, commenting on her beauty. Meanwhile, Li Ke gently reminded her, "Your Highness, intimidating the staff might not be good for our reputation." The princess, raising her voice slightly, retorted, "I know that already." She then turned to Wang Xiaofeng with a smile. "I was just messing with you. It's impressive that someone so young is already a mechanical engineer." Wang Xiaofeng, visibly relieved, admitted, "That joke really scared me." Still smiling, Princess Wei Wei declared, "From now on, we're friends." She waved goodbye, adding, "I've got things to do, but feel free to reach out if you ever need anything." As she walked away, Wang Xiaofeng, still awestruck, commented, "The princess is really kind." But the moment was cut short when a group of people began glaring at him. Two women berated him, with one saying, "She's a royal noble who will live over 1,000 years. There's no way she'd be friends with someone like you." The other added, "Learn some self-awareness." Wang Xiaofeng shrunk back, embarrassed, as the crowd's disdain weighed on him. Bro, it's remarkable how much smaller our hero is compared to the rest of the staff, I thought. In her private living quarters, Princess Wei Wei punched a teddy bear in frustration. If I see that shorty again, I'll teach him a lesson, she fumed. Just then the officer entered, addressing her. Your Highness, is everything all right? What's going on? She demanded. The officer reported, a portal has been discovered near the outpost, and a large number of Xinglong are emerging from it, rapidly advancing toward us. I've made preparations for your evacuation, Your Highness. Princess Wei Wei's face turned serious. Evacuate? The station crew is fighting to defend the Empire's borders, and as Princess and Station Chief, I cannot abandon them, she continued. This outpost has the most advanced space defense equipment in the Empire. It's as fortified as a space fortress, and there's no safer place in this star system. I will stay and face the Xinglong with my crew. The officer, though concerned, accepted her decision. Back in the command room, he began to panic as reports came in. The Xinglong had used a portal to travel directly from 12 light-years away. One agent, alarmed, reported, a large number of gigantic life forms are rapidly approaching. 500, 550, 600 and counting. Another, shocked, announced, the number has surpassed 1,000. Suddenly, another alert came in. We've detected a high-risk target. It's likely the Xinglong King. The officer's face drained of color. Pacing back and forth, he muttered, even the Xinglong King has appeared? The target is clear. They're after the princess. To them, the star power of royalty is an irresistible lure. The officer recalled the day the outpost was established, boasting that it once had the most advanced defense system comparable to a space fortress. A fleet of heavily armed robots once floated in space, demonstrating the outpost's former might. Back then, they truly had the power to confront the Xinglong. But now, after a century without a single attack, the outpost had decayed. Defense funds had been siphoned off for years, leaving the system little more than a hollow shell. Bitterly, the officer concluded that their defenses were no longer reliable. Urgently, he ordered the activation of the outpost's self-destruct sequence and the immediate evacuation of the crew. Block the princess's signal receiver, he added. One of the men, confused, asked, what about the princess? The officer's response was cold and calculated. She fought bravely until the last moment, protecting the crew during the evacuation, and perished along with the outpost. After all, the Xinglong are after her. I can't be blamed. Cynically, the officer reminded everyone that they had all benefited from the misappropriated funds. If an illegitimate princess dies, I'll be demoted at worst. But if the embezzlement is exposed, we'll all spend the rest of our lives in prison. So choose wisely. One of the agents confirmed the order. The station crew has been notified. Evacuation is underway. Another coldly confirmed. Self-destruct is set to activate in 1 hour. Meanwhile, a horde of Xinglong of various sizes approached the outpost from a nearby star system. At the front of the swarm was their king, standing out with his blue armor adorned with red accents. His humanoid body had black dragon wings, a horn atop his head, and a menacing gaze. The disaster-level Xinglong King, a star space monster, weighed a staggering 89,000 tons. As the horde advanced, the battle finally began. Li Ke, piloting a fighter ship, barked orders at the soldiers. Prepare for battle. We can't let these disgusting reptiles reach the outpost. A squadron of robotic soldiers flew in formation through space, responding in unison, Yes, sir! The Xinglong King, sensing an irresistible aroma from the outpost, launched himself into the fray, smashing through several combat robots with ease. As the chaos unfolded, soldiers shouted, Run! And called for help as the massive creature approached. Li Ke, frustrated by the panic around him, shouted, What are you doing just standing there? This is the Xinglong King. Get a line of fire set up now. But one desperate soldier reported, Sir, the weapons are out of ammunition. The reserve magazines are empty, and the combat suits aren't equipped with tactical knives. Li Ke cursed, realizing that the outpost had no decent weapons. Is this a mission or a suicide run? He muttered bitterly. In the back of his mind, he questioned whether the deputy chief had arranged for the princess to evacuate earlier, suspecting that he had known everything from the start. Combat robots clashed with the Xinglong in an uneven battle. One of the robots, panicked, warned, The princess is in danger. Meanwhile, the Xinglong King scoffed at the attacking robots. Space junk, he muttered, searching for the royal he sought. His gaze fixed on the outpost in the distance, and he concluded that the chosen one must be hiding there. Inside the ship, Lee Ke received an alert. A life form with high energy was approaching. "The king is coming!" he cursed, ordering an emergency evacuation. The Xinglong king tore through the outpost, destroying robots in his path. "Get out of my way!" he bellowed. As chaos spread, a message blared through the outpost's communication system, announcing the imminent self-destruct and urging everyone to evacuate in an orderly fashion. Explosions erupted as soldiers ran in panic. Lee Ke guided Princess Wei Wei toward the escape pod, warning her that it was about to launch. But when they looked out the window, they saw their only means of escape already flying away. Shocked, Princess Wei Wei and Lee Ke could only watch as the pod disappeared into the distance. Inside the station, Lee Ke was furious. "That despicable deputy chief! He's leaving us to die alongside the Xinglong!" Princess Wei Wei, panicked, grabbed Lee Ke by the shoulder. "What do we do now? Think of something quickly!" Lee Ke, distraught, lamented. "What can we possibly do at this point?" Suddenly, limping and with his arm in a cast, Wang Xiaofeng appeared. Princess Wei Wei, desperate, asked, "Are we really going to die here?" Wang Xiaofeng, surprised to see her still there, asked, "Princess, why are you still here?" Then, carried on Li Ke's back, Wang Xiaofeng reassured her, "You're lucky you found me. Otherwise you'd be stuck here." The princess, clinging to hope, asked, "Do you have a way to get us out?" Wang Xiaofeng smiled. "Of course. We're friends, right? I'll make sure we get out safely." Relieved, the princess thanked him. Li Ke asked, "How did you get hurt?" Wang Xiaofeng brushed it off. "It's nothing serious. Just a bit of carelessness." He pointed to a section of the outpost. "There's a production area with a few space shuttles that haven't been delivered yet. We can use one to escape." Wang Xiaofeng directed them to put on protective suits and set the coordinates for their destination. The princess, impressed, remarked, "You're surprisingly reliable." Proudly, Wang Xiaofeng replied, "Don't underestimate me. I passed the outpost's rigorous selection process as a senior mechanic." Suited up, Li Ke and Princess Wei Wei watched as Wang Xiaofeng worked at the control panel. Princess Wei Wei pointed out that there were only 2 ships left. Li Ke urged her to board, but the princess hesitated. Li Ke argued, "We're royalty and nobility. Compared to someone from a primitive planet like Earth, we have much longer lifespans. If you feel guilty about leaving Wang Xiaofeng behind, we can always compensate his family later." Just as they were about to board, Wang Xiaofeng, still limping, apologized for the delay and invited them to proceed. But as they reached the shipyard, they found it empty. The ships were gone. Wang Xiaofeng stood there, shocked. Where did everyone go? He wondered aloud, realizing that he had been left behind. He sighed, lamenting, "I'm not that big. They could have made room for me." The outpost's communication system announced the final countdown for the self-destruct sequence. Sitting on the floor, Wang Xiaofeng felt betrayed. "They lied to me," he muttered bitterly. "They said we were friends, and left me behind." Suddenly, he noticed something moving on the ceiling. A message informed him that the self-destruct countdown had reached 5 seconds. A deafening roar echoed through the outpost as Wang Xiaofeng came face to face with a gigantic, monstrous creature emerging from a crack in the ceiling. The information card revealed its disaster level. Cosmic beast, Balong, weight 21,000 tons. In tears, Wang Xiaofeng pleaded, "Please, don't take me away." Meanwhile, the Xinglong king, surveying the destroyed robots, wondered aloud, "Where have they all gone?" In the escape ship, Li Ke and Princess Wei Wei sped away from the chaos. Princess Wei Wei, looking out the window, called out for Wang Xiaofeng, her voice filled with regret. From a distance, the officer observed the outpost, satisfied. Everything went according to plan, he thought. Back inside the outpost, Wang Xiaofeng, panicking, tried to crawl away from the monstrous Balong. As the creature opened its enormous mouth, a blinding light engulfed the space. The escape pod, carrying Li Ke and Princess Wei Wei, emerged from a space portal, leaving the destruction behind. Wang Xiaofeng falls, submerged in liquid, disoriented and wondering if he is dead. Floating in a dark, vast space, he contemplates whether this is the light of paradise. But then, confusion strikes. He sees 2 lights. Why are there 2? He wonders. He's never heard of there being choices in paradise. Despite his doubts, he convinces himself that choosing the brighter light should be safe. Passing through it, Wang Xiaofeng finds himself in total darkness. Disoriented, he asks aloud if anyone is there. Feeling the top of his surroundings, he notices it's soft. He figures he can open it, and after a moment of effort, he finds light. Celebrating his small victory, he soon realizes that he's in a strange place, with a honeycomb-patterned ceiling overhead. Where am I? He wonders. It's then that he notices his new body, an insect-like form. Staring at his 6 legs and 2 pairs of hands, Wang Xiaofeng is dumbfounded. Why do I have antennae? And wings? Am I a bee? His realization leaves him even more bewildered. Now, with the body of a humanoid bee, Wang Xiaofeng wanders through a lush field, marveling at the novelty of his form. He wonders if he should go search for nectar, jokingly buzzing and calling himself a hard-working little bee. He eventually finds himself on a cliff, gazing at floating islands and a brilliant blue sky. "Wow," he exclaims, mesmerized by the stunning landscape. Touching the soil with his front legs, Wang Xiaofeng remarks on how fertile and pure the land is, untouched by pollution. His thoughts drift back to Earth, his home planet, a place blanketed in a deep purple haze, with radioactive seas and terrifying mutant creatures. Earth's atmosphere is so toxic that the average life expectancy is a mere 40 years. He wonders wistfully what Earth might be like if it were as pristine as this place. Meanwhile, 3 brightly colored bees observe Wang Xiaofeng from a distance. One of them remarks that he looks like a newly emerged drone bee. As they approach, Wang Xiaofeng, confused, asks what they intend to do. One bee confirms he really is a drone bee. The humanoid bees seem fascinated by him. One of them comments, "It's the first time I've seen such a small drone." Another suggests that he must be the first drone born to the queen. A third bee excitedly exclaims, "He's so cute!" Wang Xiaofeng, flustered by their attention, asks, "Are you talking about me?" The bees curiously approach him. One asks his name, while another, intrigued, requests permission to touch him. Awkwardly, Wang Xiaofeng introduces himself. "I'm Wang Xiaofeng." He smiles, thinking to himself how popular he has become. Cheeks flushed, he allows them to touch him, saying, "It's okay if it's just a touch." However, the situation quickly escalates. One bee squeezes his cheek, marveling at how soft his skin is. Before he knows it, a whole group of humanoid bees piles on top of him, causing Wang Xiaofeng to cry out for help. A voice interrupts the chaos. Another bee approaches and sternly asks what they are doing, reminding them that they all have work to do. Panicked, one of the bees warns, "That's the Queen's Guard!" The group of bees immediately scrambles off Wang Xiaofeng, apologizing as they rush back to their duties. Wang Xiaofeng, lying on the ground, tries to process what just happened. The Queen's Guard, a powerful-looking bee, observes the situation and comments, "That was quite the commotion." Her information card appears. Queen Bee Guard, Bee Li, weight 9,000 tons. Wang Xiaofeng, relieved, exclaims, "I thought I was going to die." Bee Li looks at him carefully. "Are you the newly emerged drone bee?" she asks. Then, without waiting for a response, she takes flight, ordering Wang Xiaofeng to follow her to meet the queen. Surprised, Wang Xiaofeng watches Bee Li fly away. He glances at his own wings and nervously admits, "I haven't tried flying yet." With some difficulty, he begins flapping his wings and launches himself into the air, clumsily wobbling. But his joy is short-lived as he crashes into a tree branch. Nearby, the other bees laugh at his recklessness. One comments, "Flying so recklessly for the first time? No wonder he crashed." Another laughs and says, "Everyone has a first time. He'll get the hang of it." After some time, they arrive at a massive honeycomb-shaped structure atop a giant tree. "Is this where the queen lives?" Wang Xiaofeng asks, eyeing the structure with suspicion. Something feels off to him. At the entrance, a group of humanoid bees armed with spears stands guard. One of them addresses Bee Li, calling her captain, and asks if she shouldn't be resting today. Bee Li, with Wang Xiaofeng in tow, explains that the new drone bee has emerged and that she's taking him to see the queen. Wang Xiaofeng shyly greets the guards as they are allowed to pass. Walking through the corridors of the structure, Wang Xiaofeng feels uncomfortable as many humanoid bees stare at him. Surrounded by worker bees, he wonders aloud why they are all female and asks where the other drones are. One bee responds, "You didn't know?" Another explains, There are over 3,000 bees in this hive, but you're the only drone. Wang Xiaofeng, shocked, thinks, over 3,000 female worker bees. And I'm the only male? His face turns red as indecent thoughts flash through his mind. But he quickly dismisses them, thinking, with so many bees, my body wouldn't be able to handle it. As Wang Xiaofeng processes the information, it becomes clear where this situation is headed. This could be the biggest harem I've ever seen, he thinks to himself. The red-haired worker bee, Bee-Man, with a sly smile, strokes Wang Xiaofeng's head and asks why he looks so happy. The purple-haired bee, Bee-Mang, teasingly asks if he's thinking of courting the sisters. Both bees give him sly smiles, amused by his innocence. One of them laughs. He's got some ambition. Our poor protagonist asks, with wide-eyed innocence, is that not allowed? Bee-Man chuckles and explains, although we worker bees are female, only the queen has reproductive capacity. Bee-Mang adds, and due to bloodline reasons, you can only reproduce with queens from other hives, and only once a year. Bee Li steps in, announcing that they've reached the queen's chamber and orders everyone to be quiet. She kneels before the entrance and formally greets the queen with, Your Majesty. The queen, Bee Huang, asks what's happening. Bee Li bows and explains that the queen's drone bee has recently emerged, and she has brought him to meet her. Bee Huang turns her gaze toward Wang Xiaofeng, thanking Bee Li for her work. Our hero, enchanted by the queen's appearance, thinks she's incredibly beautiful. He wonders if she is his mother in this world, and is startled by her imposing size. Is something wrong? Bee Huang asks, noticing Wang Xiaofeng's hesitation. Overwhelmed, he blurts out, You're beautiful! Bee Li scolds him, reminding him to address the queen properly as Queen Bee. She demands to know if the larvae didn't teach him the rules and orders him to kneel. Wang Xiaofeng, confused, asks, What rules? He doesn't understand the situation. Bee Huang, with an amused smile, reassures Bee Li, saying, It's all right. No one else is here. She laughs gently, calling Wang Xiaofeng a sweet little boy, and beckons him closer. She invites him to sit beside her, saying, Come sit here with Mommy. Awkwardly, Wang Xiaofeng sits by the queen and asks, Why can't I call you Mommy if you gave birth to me? Bee Huang explains that it's a long-standing tradition of the bee tribe, one that even she cannot change. After all, she says, we are the rulers of this celestial island and must uphold our dignity. The queen reminisces, recalling that she was once one of thousands of worker bees, but was chosen by the former queen to inherit royal power. She became the new queen, and now the entire hive shares her bloodline. She advises Wang Xiaofeng to get along with his sisters in the hive. Bee Huang then orders Bee Li, Bee-Mang, and Bee-Man to take care of Wang Xiaofeng for now. The three bees bow to the queen and confirm the order. Bee Li assures her, We will train him to be an excellent drone. The queen praises Bee Li as the most capable worker bee, the only one with 2-star strength, and suggests that Wang Xiaofeng learn from her. Wang Xiaofeng agrees, referring to the queen as Mother Queen. Later, in the residential area of the Celestial Island, humanoid insects of various tribes live in harmony. A giant dragonfly transports a wooden crate across the area. Bee Li points to the residential section of the hive and explains that all tribes under the administration of the bee tribe live here. She adds that, thanks to the bee tribe's protection, the Celestial Island is the safest place on the planet. She warns Wang Xiaofeng that he is still at level 0 and must not leave the hive until he reaches 1-star strength. The wilderness outside is dangerous, she says. Wild tribes follow the law of the jungle. Wang Xiaofeng, apprehensive, promises to remember. Bee Li points to a small honeycomb-shaped house. This will be your room, she tells him. Food and water will be delivered regularly. Bee Li then orders Bee-Mang and Bee-Man to deliver a special item to Wang Xiaofeng. The two bees approach him, carrying a cage with a small, furry sleeping creature inside. Curious, Wang Xiaofeng asks, Is this a pet? Bee-Mang shakes her head. No, it's food. It's very nutritious and quite precious. Wang Xiaofeng, bewildered, asks, Why do you eat insects if you are also insects? The bees exchange looks of disappointment. Bee Li sighs. It seems the guys in the breeding department are getting more and more clueless. We are wasps. Wasps? Wang Xiaofeng exclaims in shock. The information card reveals the creature's stats. Disaster level, native monster, wasp beast, weight 3,000 tons. No wonder the hive feels so strange, Wang Xiaofeng mutters. After saying their goodbyes, Bi Li, Bi Meng Meng, and Bi Man Man leave. Wang Xiaofeng enters his new home and is startled by the size of the bed. He surveys the room and comments on how primitive the accommodation feels, almost like Earth's medieval period, with no advanced technology. Lying down, he reflects on his new life, musing, "Reincarnating as a wasp feels like a dream." Exhausted, he resigns himself to the situation and decides to make the best of it. But suddenly, Wang Xiaofeng, now in his human form, opens his eyes in confusion. Is this that same space? He wonders as he plummets toward a bright light, screaming. He lands in a place called Monster Cemetery, surrounded by a mountain of giant bones. Disoriented from the fall, Wang Xiaofeng looks around and wonders, where am I? Did I fail to reincarnate after all? As he takes in his surroundings, he realizes he is inside the mouth of a gigantic monster. Panicking, he wonders why this is happening again, only to be ejected from the monster's mouth moments later. Sitting on the ground, Wang Xiaofeng assesses his injuries. His left arm has been ripped off, but fortunately, his spacesuit's emergency systems have stopped the bleeding. He still needs to disinfect the wound, though. Glancing at his leg, he notices another open wound. Crawling toward a small campfire, he mutters, "Mr. Fire, help me." With difficulty, he picks up a container of water and heads toward the fire, celebrating his small victory as he feeds the flames with more wood. He boils some bandages for disinfection, knowing that in this environment, it's his only way to stop the bleeding. Bracing himself for pain, Wang Xiaofeng presses a hot stick against his wound, screaming in agony before passing out. When he awakens, he observes the valley, filled with countless monster corpses. This entire valley is a graveyard, he thinks, and they all died in the last explosion. He wonders how the giant monster he encountered earlier survived. But as he turns, the valley darkens, and a massive shadow looms over him. A gigantic dragon-like creature rises above him. The information card appears. Disaster level. Cosmic monster. Zuyue dragon. Weight 180,000 tons. Paralyzed with fear, Wang Xiaofeng stammers, "Monster!" He gazes up at the enormous beast, unable to comprehend its sheer size. Then, a smaller dragon approaches the Zuyue dragon and asks, "What's wrong with him?" The information card described the creature as disaster level, cosmic monster, flash dragon, weight 87,000 tons. The Zuyue dragon, irritated, commented, "I think something just went under my feet." The flash dragon, unconcerned, replied, "Forget about it. It's probably just a ghoul." He reminded the Zuyue dragon, "The Dragon King is seriously injured and needs a lot of blood. We need to find fresh bodies and bring them back quickly." "Don't pressure me, I already know," the Zuyue dragon snapped. Wang Xiaofeng, hiding behind a rock, trembled in fear, trying to make sense of their conversation. As time passed, he observed the two dragons carrying several smaller monsters on their backs. Are they transporting the bodies? Wang Xiaofeng wondered, trying to stay calm. He thought to himself, maybe this is my chance to escape. The flash dragon, sensing the urgency, said, "It's almost time. We need to go." He took off, carrying a small monster in his claws, and soon the skies were filled with an overwhelming number of dragons, transporting food at high speed. Wang Xiaofeng, hidden in the mouth of the Zuyue dragon, sighed in relief. "I finally managed to escape that cursed place," he muttered. But as he looked out over the valley, his relief turned to horror. The place teemed with monsters, and he quickly realized that he was in the middle of a monster nest. The dragons finally reached their destination, a colossal volcano. The Zuyue dragon landed, dumping the smaller monsters and skeletons onto the ground. Wang Xiaofeng screamed as he tumbled out along with them. One dragon asked another, "Has old Shi gathered all the ingredients for the Dragon King's meal?" A turtle-like dragon approached, squinting as he examined the ingredients. "My vision's not what it used to be," he grumbled. "I've been waiting for fresh ingredients for ages." Wang Xiaofeng, hiding among the other creatures, panicked as he tried to figure out what to do. But then, the turtle dragon excitedly spotted him, or so Wang Xiaofeng thought. The turtle dragon grinned, delighted with his find. "This fresh ingredient is perfect," he said, heading toward the cauldron. Wang Xiaofeng nearly had a heart attack, but to his surprise, the turtle dragon wasn't aiming for him. It was after the dinosaur he was hiding behind. Wang Xiaofeng let out a sigh of relief as the turtle dragon took the dinosaur instead. This old guy must have terrible eyesight, Wang Xiaofeng thought as he took the opportunity to run. The turtle dragon, now preparing the ingredients for the Dragon King's meal, said, "With these ingredients, the meal should be ready after boiling for a few more minutes." Wang Xiaofeng hid behind the leg of another creature, feeling safer for the moment. But his relief was short-lived. The smaller monsters nearby spotted him. One pointed in surprise. "A human!" it exclaimed. The others stared at Wang Xiaofeng, confused and curious. "What's a human doing here?" one asked. Another commented, "He looks delicious." A blue-horned monster holding a cup was startled. "Why is there a human here?" it demanded. The creatures quickly grew hostile. "Catch him!" one of the monsters ordered. "Don't let him escape!" Panic set in as Wang Xiaofeng ran for his life. When will this nightmare end? He thought. Just as a dinosaur was about to crush him, he remembered his spacesuit's safety airbag. The airbag inflated, cushioning the impact of the dinosaur's stomp and flinging Wang Xiaofeng into the air. He flew through the air, landing headfirst into the turtle dragon's cauldron. The turtle dragon, unaware of Wang Xiaofeng's presence, carried the cauldron toward a dark cave. One of the monsters watching said, "Isn't that pot for the Dragon King's long quan soup?" Another silly beast confirmed, "Yes, it is." The blue monster tried to intervene, calling out to the turtle dragon to stop. But before they could do anything, a massive dragon stepped in front of them, radiating fury. "You dare to rebel in the Dragon King's palace?" it bellowed. The information card appeared. Disaster level, level 7, cosmic monster, BIE dragon. Weight, 1.3 million tons. The smaller monsters cowered in fear, quickly denying any intentions of rebellion. They pointed to the turtle dragon, accusing him of putting a human in the pot. The BEIE dragon roared in anger, scoffing at the idea of a mere human being present. It crushed one of the monsters under its paw and warned the others not to speak of it again. One of the creatures glanced at the flattened fire dragon on the ground and asked if it was dead. The BEIE dragon chased away the smaller monsters, ordering them to leave immediately. Afterward, it turned toward the cave and addressed the Dragon King, who was lying on space debris, severely injured. "We return to the battle that left the Dragon King massacred," the BEIE dragon said. The Dragon King, barely able to move, explained how he had allowed himself to be hit by an explosion. "If it weren't for that carelessness, I wouldn't have had the chance to seize this unique opportunity," the Dragon King reminisced. 300 years have passed, and during that time I've made no progress in my power. But the opportunity for a breakthrough is right in front of me. He glanced at the unconscious Princess Wei Wei, trapped inside her escape pod. All I need to do is absorb her star power. The Dragon King warned the BEIE dragon, "While I recover, no one must approach. In this weakened state, my power could easily be stolen." The BEIE dragon vowed to protect the Dragon King with his life. Meanwhile, the turtle dragon poured the contents of the cauldron, including Wang Xiaofeng, into a gigantic organic container resembling a womb. The Dragon King's body, split in half, floated inside the container. Wang Xiaofeng, submerged in the reddish liquid, cried out for help as he struggled to make sense of the situation. The turtle dragon, pleased with its work, celebrated. "My task is complete. At last, these old bones can rest." Exhausted, Wang Xiaofeng muttered to himself, "I wish everything would just be destroyed, my miserable life included." It was clear that Wang Xiaofeng had reached his limit. After everything he had been through in just 24 hours, his exhaustion was beyond belief. Out of nowhere, Wang Xiaofeng's consciousness shifted. He slowly opened his eyes, finding himself back in his bee body. Confused, he got out of bed and immediately felt a sharp pain. He touched his face and realized that part of his mandible was broken. Reflecting on his situation, Wang Xiaofeng wondered, "If I've been reincarnated, why are my two bodies connected?" He concluded that whenever one body was awake, the other must be asleep. Wang Xiaofeng rejoices at the thought, speculating that he might have become some kind of supreme being with two bodies. "Wow," he thinks, "I didn't see that coming." But soon after, his face falls as he laments the condition of his human body, covered in wounds and possibly dead by now. Then, relieved, Wang Xiaofeng celebrates the fact that he's just an earthling, and for the moment, everything seems fine. He smiles to himself, rejoicing in the thought that he now holds a noble position surrounded by beauties, and declares that this is where he truly belongs. But just as he begins to settle in, his stomach growls loudly. He remembers he hasn't eaten since entering his new wasp body. He glances over at the gift the bees gave him, the insect in the cage, and wonders if the wasp inside is really edible. Oh no. Look at that psychopathic grin on his face, you might think. How terrifying. Wang Xiaofeng grabs the food in his hand, but just as he's about to dig in, the little moth inside the cage begs him not to eat her. Surprised that the moth can talk, Wang Xiaofeng decides to follow local customs and try a small bite. He sinks his teeth into the creature, immediately making a face. Does it taste like raw shrimp? He wonders, as the little moth cries out, "I'm dying!" But don't worry, our hero isn't that cruel. Wang Xiaofeng spits it out, complaining about the horrible taste. The moth, in shock, asks what happened. She starts crying, lamenting her fate. How cruel life is, that she's not only going to die, but also be called disgusting before she even gets eaten. Annoyed by the moth's constant whining, Wang Xiaofeng sighs. "Enough already. It's too noisy. I won't eat you, okay?" He holds her and ushers her out the door. "Go cry somewhere else," he says, shutting the door behind her. Relieved, the moth celebrates her freedom. But, as is often the case, a poor man's joy is short-lived. 2 bees fly overhead and spot her. One of them points and says, "Look, there's a plump moth in front of that house." The moth, hearing this, panics. She knocks frantically on Wang Xiaofeng's door, calling him Big Brother and begging him to let her back in. Wang Xiaofeng opens the door and asks, "Why are you back?" Grabbing his leg, the moth pleads, "I'm a good person. Please take me in." Wang Xiaofeng, reluctant, explains that he's hungry and needs to eat first. But in the end, he lets her back inside, curious why she ran so far. The moth nervously suggests, "Lord Wasp, if you don't like to eat meat, why not try a pollen cake?" Wang Xiaofeng is intrigued and asks if she has any. The moth nods, explaining that her little sister makes excellent pollen cakes. Now, outside the residential area, Wang Xiaofeng, still hungry, asks if they can't just fly to her house. The moth warns against it, saying that flying could draw the attention of the queen's guards. She then points to a strange flower and says it's called the Twilight Flower. Excitedly, she offers a petal to Wang Xiaofeng, saying that while it's a long walk to her house, the flower can help curb his hunger. Wang Xiaofeng eats the petal and remarks that it's sweet, not bad at all. Feeling better, he thanks the moth, and they continue on their way. As they approach a hole in a tree, the moth explains, "This is where my sister can cook for you, Lord Wasp." Wang Xiaofeng asks if she gets along with her sister. The moth smiles and replies, "She's my most precious treasure." But as they arrive, the scene turns grim. A large, demonic-looking wasp is beating up a smaller insect who begs for her little brother to be returned. The wasp punches the poor thing, sending her flying. The info card reveals disaster level, mud monster, weight 7,800 tons. The evil wasp coldly declares, "It's too late. By now your little brother is probably already in some lord's belly." Wang Xiaofeng is shocked by the wasp's cruelty. The moth rushes to her sister, worried. "Are you hurt?" she asks. The little sister introduces herself as Xiao Yue, and the moth reassures her, "Don't worry, you're safe now." She demands the evil wasp leave her house. The giant wasp, intrigued, approaches. "Didn't I sell you off? How did you survive and get back here?" she asks, salivating at the sight of her. "As food, you should know your place. Running away from being eaten is a crime punishable by death." The situation escalates. Wang Xiaofeng orders the giant wasp to stop, explaining that he brought the little moth here himself. "If you have a problem, deal with me," he says sternly. The giant wasp is taken aback and wonders, are they from the wasp tribe? The moth, overjoyed, thanks Wang Xiaofeng and calls him Lord Wasp. Our hero, trying to stay humble, tells her, "Just call me Xiaofeng." The giant wasp, now kneeling before him, apologizes profusely, saying she didn't know they were friends of his. Wang Xiaofeng, confused by the sudden shift in behavior, asks why the wasp knelt. The moth explains, "The wasp tribe is one of the rulers of the celestial island. The queen holds the power of a king, and no insect dares to offend anyone from the wasp tribe. Wang Xiaofeng declares that the little moth is his friend and orders the giant wasp to stop intimidating her. The wasp agrees, retreating, but wonders how a male wasp from the wasp tribe ended up here, befriending food like the moth. Yue, the moth's sister, thanks Wang Xiaofeng for his help. He shrugs it off, saying it was no big deal, but then the giant wasp pauses. Suspicious, she questions whether Wang Xiaofeng is accompanied by worker bees or if he escaped alone. A wicked grin spreads across her face as she licks her lips. "This is an unexpected surprise," she says. Back in the residential area, the bees search for Wang Xiaofeng. "His sisters want to take him to the city," they say, confused as they find his bed empty. Bee Man and Bee Mang wonder where he could have gone, while Bee Li, irritated, curses him for escaping again. Observing the footprints, she scolds, "That idiot ignored us and fled the city."